Welcome to Based on a Book, the podcast that dives into stories with teeth. And in this episode, things are about to get a little feral. I'm Keri, and I think growling should be a socially acceptable way to express feelings.
I'm Lindsey. I'm not a Nightbitch. I'm an all-day bitch.
And I'm Crystal. We record our episodes around my son's bedtime schedule.
In this episode, we are discussing Rachel Yoder's debut novel, Nightbitch, and its 2024 film adaptation. Nightbitch is a dark, surreal story that sinks its teeth into motherhood, identity, and the wild animal that lives beneath the surface. A stay-at-home mother soon suspects that she's turning into a dog. It's strange, but also weirdly liberating. We're talking maternal rage, feminine power, and kind of mythical. May is turning out to be chaotic in more ways than just our book picks. I'm hosting an episode on motherhood, while Crystal's diving into horror later in this month. That's the real mayhem of May. And it just goes to show how we sometimes love going into these stories a little blind.
A little.
Just a little.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. So before we start our book versus movie breakdown, I want to immediately get into ratings. I think the best way to start here is with Crystal, the only mom of our group.
Okay, so this book is about a woman who thinks she's turning into a dog on the surface, but this book is absolutely 100% about motherhood. There are lots of types of moms, but this one definitely focuses more on moms who birth their own children. So I want to make sure that, like, when I talk about it, I don't want to negate anybody else's motherhood, because all forms of motherhood are really valid. But to me, this book is a 5. I firmly believe that anybody considering being a mom needs to read this book. And anybody who already is a mom needs to read this book to know they're not alone. I felt seen in a way I haven't felt seen in a very long time. This was shockingly, because, like, legit, I was like, a book about a woman who turns into a dog, this is going to be weird. But I sobbed through the majority of this book, and I am so glad we read it. This is good.
Yay, I'm happy you really liked it.
Mhm.
Lindsey?
So, while I am a cat mom, this book was not written for me. This story was not written for me. I am not the target audience. So with that being said, I gave it 2.5 raw steaks.
Okay.
That's valid. I don't understand how anybody who is not a parent in some way could. I don't see how they could in any way enjoy this book, to be very, very honest. If you are not already a parent, and mother or father, like, I don't think you would ever firmly grasp the weight of this book. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
like, I'm sitting here like it was a 5 for me, and it was, but I think it's 100% not just acceptable, but expected that you wouldn't have really loved this. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with Lindsey. I gave it, with Lindsey's favorite thing in books, I gave it 3 growls. Lindsey's favorite thing to see in
Oh
books.
my god.
I enjoyed it for the most part. To be honest, my favorite subgenre in horror is feminine rage, and honestly, like, motherhood books. Like, if you look at my TBR in horror, the subgenre that I love to read about are those 2 things. The one thing I didn't love about this book, but like Lindsey said, I mean, I'm not the target audience for this book. I don't have kids. I'm not a mom, nor am I a cat mom or pet mom. But uh I also kind of wished it like got a little weirder. I was expecting it to get more weird. Like with the whole dog thing, but I get why it didn't too. That's why I kind of gave it a 3. I was like very much in the middle of the road with it.
I didn't go into this thinking it was going to be a book about motherhood. I thought it was going to be a book that got weird.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like, and so I kind of went in with that mindset and then was just shook. I was just
Yeah.
rocked because
And then
it's not at all what I expected.
yeah, grasping you a completely different way,
And
which
like
is cool.
legit, this is a book not just about parenthood but womanhood,
Mhm.
and I'm on my period, so I feel like this book really hit me extra hard. So maybe in a couple of weeks I wouldn't feel the same, but this book shook me.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's like you read it when you need it though. Like it happened in this moment for a reason.
And I'm probably going to send this book to moms that I know. Like
Mhm.
I feel like, and I did talk to one other mom who found, like, I mentioned that I was going to read it and she said that she had, and that it was an experience, and she was like, when you're
Yeah.
done, tell me what you think, because
Yeah.
it was, she wasn't going to ruin it for me, she wasn't, but she was like, this is going to mean something to you, let me know when you're done.
Yeah. Yeah, I was so curious about your feelings on it because I had read so many reviews after I was done, and they are very much either they love it or they hate it. And it's a lot of like moms, people saying like I'm a mom and this is how I felt about it. And I was very curious if you felt, and it's either a lot of the reviews either say that it exactly represents how they feel as a mom and they feel like they're seen in this book or in the movie. And a lot of them say that they either don't like the content and how it's represented. I've heard seen some that's saying it's over exaggerated and things like that. So I was curious what you were going to say about it.
I feel like there were definitely parts that were very, very similar to experiences I've had with my motherhood journey. There were
Mhm.
definitely parts of it that weren't quite what I experienced.
Yeah.
But I also feel like for anybody to say that like it's over exaggerated, first of all, it's a book about a woman who turns into a dog.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
what did you expect?
Mhm.
But also, don't you dare define someone else's experience of motherhood. Period. Full stop.
Yeah.
Because I know moms that have experienced horrific, postpartum depression, horrific experiences around trauma that, having a child ended up exacerbating. Don't sit there and say it's over dramatic. It's you can't possibly understand what every single woman has gone through.
Mhm.
Yeah, I just have really big feelings on moms like gatekeeping experiences or trying to negate or diminish other mothers' experiences. Like, don't.
Yeah. Totally. I agree. And I am curious, well, Lindsay and I being, you know, we don't have kids, and I'm curious, Lindsay, how it resonates with you as someone who doesn't have kids. Like, how did you connect with the book in other ways
I could
outside of that?
recognize that it was a well-written story. I could recognize that it was a good representation, although I don't relate. I honestly, through most of the book, I was sitting at a 3 until I got to a certain point, but
Mhm.
we won't talk about that. But when she brings up the topic of being an artist
Mhm.
before motherhood, I kind of related to that more than anything because I also used to be really into art, and as I've gotten older, I've kind of I don't know, it hasn't been as much of a priority, but I can think back on those times fondly, and I'm like, oh, I do miss doing art. I do love art. Um, and maybe it's something that I can get into later. So that was the biggest point that I could relate to in this.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I think something that really emotionally affected me, I mean, and again, speaking as someone, the only thing I can speak to in this is just being a woman in society, and I
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
think that that's a big theme also that you can grasp from this book, being a woman in a relationship in society, and, losing passion or drive in something and wanting support from your partner in
Mhm.
general is something I really took from this, and how that can really put a lot of strain on your relationship. I mean, additional to, being a mother on top of that as well. But I do understand that strain that it can put on a relationship, and also taming ourselves for society
Mhm.
versus completely letting go. That entire theme in this story really affected me. Like, putting ourselves into a box because of society pressures.
Mhm.
And I can only speak on society pressures as a woman, or like as a woman in a relationship where we have like specific rules made by society for us. And like in the story, she's specifically talking about rules as like a mother and things like that. And I think you can relate to this as like, also there's a rule, like who made this rule book for women in
Right.
society where we have to follow. And like, what would it feel like to just go feral and not do what society requires of women? Like,
Mhm.
there was a point that she talked about, like, her top things that she wanted to do in her life. Like, how about I'm just not going to shower, and I'm not going to do this, and I'm not going to do what society requires of me, and just like do whatever I want.
I think one of my
And
favorite parts
yeah.
in the book and in the movie is in the very beginning when she's talking about how she's a stay-at-home mom and how she's supposed to be grateful for that. Like, she's not allowed to complain about it. And I feel like that's just another one of those, again, in society, if you are in a position where your spouse can support you, or in a relationship where your partner can support you, and you get air quotes to stay home, you almost aren't allowed to complain, even
Mhm.
if the reason you're home is to help support your partner because your partner's, I don't know, has a really hectic job, a stressful job, whatever, or it was, because of, a childcare situation, whatever the reason is. And it, how women are oftentimes put in this position to be grateful for things and feel like they're not allowed to not want those things. Like, you're not
Yeah.
allowed to say, I don't want to be a stay-at-home mom. You're not allowed to say, I want to have a career. I want to follow my own passions. You're supposed to just be grateful for what you have.
Yeah.
And that really resonated with me, watching my mom, my stepmom, go through that, like being at home, and everybody saying, "Oh, you must love it." But, well, no, it's freaking hard and I'm stressed, but you're not allowed to say that.
Mhm. Yeah.
And that really, watching other women go through that it's almost like you and you want to say to them, like, you can tell me the truth. You don't have to put on the fake face.
Mhm.
And I don't know, I feel like this book really helped to start that conversation, with a
Yeah.
lot of people, open up that door to, like, let's go ahead and be vulnerable and speak our truth instead of building these resentments, building, the anxiety and the depression and the shame that's associated with not being able to speak that truth.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I want to go ahead and get into our book versus movie breakdown now. So, spoiler warning before we dive in, this episode from this point on will contain major spoilers for the book and movie. If you haven't read the book or watched the movie, consider hitting pause and coming back after you've finished. Otherwise, we're getting into it, starting with some content warnings. Both the book and movie, I feel like a Lindsay right now.
Mhm. Now I know how you feel when you listen to
Yeah,
me.
with all those content warnings. Both the book and movie contain mental health struggles, body horror, graphic descriptions of bodily functions and changes, violence, and animal death, including a pet. You can think of anything else? Let me know. I always say this, but Storygraph is an excellent space to find content warnings on there as well. But in Nightbitch, we follow unnamed characters, mother, husband, and son. Notice how I did not say father. I said husband, which is very intentional in this story.
Well, and even in the beginning, it's not son, it's the boy.
Yes, yes.
It's the boy through the
Mhm,
first 2 parts of the book. It's the boy.
mhm. In the movie, when you look up the cast, I believe it says son, but I don't know. She calls him
She calls him
baby a
baby.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think the purpose of this in general is to generalize this scenario, like making it obvious to the reader and those watching this movie that this whole thing, this story that you're about to read, to me, this is how I interpreted it. Is that this is common. This the whole thing is almost like a tale as old as time, but in a way where it's like slapping you in the back of the head, be like, duh, this could be
Mhm.
you, this could be your friend and her husband, it could be your own mother, it could be someone you work with. That's how I took it with these, unnamed characters of mother and husband, boy.
Mhm.
And mother is played by Amy Adams, husband is played by Scoot McNairy. Amy Adams was very passionate about this project. She read
Mhm.
the book and she really pushed this movie forward. She's also married and has a daughter in real life. Super passionate about this project. Was extremely involved in the entire production of this movie. But in the book, Mother is a former artist who has pressed pause on her career to stay at home with her son. And motherhood has now kind of just what she feels like it's taken over her identity, routine, and a bit of her creative outlet. And this is kind of shown in the film where we get a montage of her everyday routine. And I think Amy Adams does such a good job
I love Amy Adams.
in
It
this
was
She's
movie.
She was so perfect in this
Mhm.
role. It was and it okay, so Amy Adams, of course, is a Disney princess,
Yeah.
um, from Enchanted,
Yes.
and I kind of in my head took this as, like, because I have seen the second Enchanted movie, but I kind of took this as, like, continuation of the story in my mind, and I was like, "Holy crap, it is." Like, she just it just this is what happens in the happily ever after. Like,
Mm,
they don't tell you that, like, "Okay, now fast forward to the hard part."
mhm.
Like
Yeah. I mean, that's very valid
mhm.
and true. And I had such an emotional feel like I said, the book was, I liked it and I kind of struggled sometimes to connect. The movie, I think seeing it with my eyes, I love this movie so, so much.
Mhm.
I cried a lot during this movie. I got really emotional during this movie. I think Amy Adams, seeing her in person, seeing this main character mother in person had just a completely different effect on me.
I I enjoyed the movie very
Mhm.
much. The book definitely hit me more emotionally than the movie did.
Yeah.
However, I listened to the audiobook, and I think hearing a woman speak this story to me
Mhm.
was like a woman telling me her story. It was
Yeah.
it felt more intimate to me. It really, I think, listening to the audiobook versus reading a physical copy probably is a different experience.
Yeah.
I've been considering that because I told you I want to get this for some of my friends who are moms, and like I've considered is do I want to send them an audiobook credit instead, because
Mhm.
it was that experience, I think, that was a little bit different for me. Amy Adams was amazing, and I think the movie did, also hit me a couple of times. I teared up, but not the way I sobbed through the book.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the book definitely had, like, it had a different vibe to it for sure.
Mhm,
Mhm.
Yeah.
mhm. Especially in
So
this first part where we're doing, like, the montage of her day, and
yeah.
in the book, she's talking about the monotony of her life.
Mhm.
It's almost like a rant. Like, because Amy Adams has that first little rant in the grocery store, which it doesn't really happen, it's, like, in her head, I guess,
Yeah,
and
she does
I
that a
love how they
lot.
did that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
she's, like, talking to the audience a
Mhm.
lot of what she really wants to say, but that's
And
not
I think they
actually
did
what's
that
said.
really, really
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But that first rant in the grocery store is similar to some of the rants in the book. Like, there's, like, 20, like, again, I listened to the audio, there's, like, 20 minutes of a rant about how, like, how impersonal, how clinical, how disconnected a mom can feel when, like, breast pumps and, like, trying to make breast milk, and the environment for, like, it's supposed to be this
Mhm.
beautiful thing that you can do for your child, but it's just this clinical, dry, stress-inducing thing. There's, like, a 20-minute rant in the book. It's probably 40 pages,
Yeah.
but to me, that what like, I was sobbing through the whole thing because, like, been there, done that, and felt that,
Yeah.
and for Amy Adams to, like, have that rant in the grocery store for a minute about, like, will I ever get my life back? Will I ever get my body back? Am I ever gonna feel any, like myself again? Like, that was so well done in a way that was understandable, and it was just really well done.
Yeah.
Amy Adams clearly put a lot of effort into it. Like, it's obvious.
Mhm. Yeah, I definitely agree. Mother also doesn't feel very connected with other mothers, especially during group settings. She doesn't want to connect with another woman just because they're both mothers. Like it's an obligation for them. She wants to connect on other levels, but just happen to both be mothers.
Mhm.
Well, because they're supposed to be your friends,
Yeah.
not my coworkers in motherhood.
Yeah, exactly.
It's supposed to be your friends.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
really does suck because there's a
Mhm.
lot of crap. Like, people I don't want to be friends with are moms. Not that they're bad moms. They're just people I don't want to be friends with. We
Mhm.
have one thing in common, and it's our shitty kids. Like, no, thank you.
Yeah, and it's like I mean, like is there, like, a pressure or something to, like,
Oh,
feel like that you have to be friends
absolutely.
because you're mom? Like, that's kinda like what the story talks about.
No, absolutely. Like,
Yeah.
and then, of course, if you're at the park with a bunch of other parents out there and you're not talking to the other parents, then, like, you kinda get the look that, like, does she think she's better than us?
Mhm.
Like, no, I don't think I'm better than you. I just don't wanna hang out with you. Like, that's not a bad thing. Leave me alone, you know? Like,
Yeah,
trust
yeah.
me, I'm not that cool. You don't wanna know me, you know? Like,
You're cool, I think you're cool.
"Aw, thanks." But there's so much pressure, especially for, like, this was the big one when she was like, the tyke hikes, the book babies, the,
Mhm. The little all
mommy
these little
yoga,
clubs.
like, the pressure to do all of those things and then not just show up with your kids so your kid can enjoy it, but you're expected to be social too. Like,
Mhm. Yeah.
ugh.
Yeah, there's a point, like, you can see in the movie, and she also talks about it in the book where she's just, like, sitting there, like, witnessing all the moms, like, singing along as they're all, like, sitting around in this thing, and, I think they're, like, in a library or something, right,
Mhm,
for this meeting, and
mhm.
she's just like I'm ready to go. And she sees someone else leaving and she just is like, please, like, talk to me and like, please, let's like connect. Like, are you just like me? Are you feeling the same way
Yeah,
I'm
because it
feeling?
looked like somebody who kind of was like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't really want to sing along. I'm only here for my kid.
Yeah.
And so she's like, maybe we can at least bond over that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but then she leaves.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, though, what's up with that duck?
Yeah. What is up with that, duck?
What that was stuck in my head for solid like 20 minutes after I watched this movie.
And then the kid's like, what's your name? Oh my
This
god.
is such a real feeling too. I don't know how many, and every mom's had that moment, and yet every mom will stare at you when you have that moment when your
Mhm.
kid cusses loudly in public. Like, yes, I cuss at home. So do you too. Don't lie to me about it. Like,
Yeah.
you ain't
Yeah.
perfect. Go away.
So husband works and he's continuously going on work trips. And she, oh gosh, this husband, this
Okay,
husband.
I did not hate husband in book. I didn't love him,
No.
but I didn't hate him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Movie husband, I was like,
Yeah.
what's going on here?
Yeah. Husband in book is very different than husband in movie.
Mhm.
But husband, she kind of resents him a little bit for like his full hours of sleep and the fact that when he is home, he needs help doing everything. Like there's like one point where he can't do bath time on his own and he's like he offers like he volunteers, he's like, I'll do bath time so you can like sit down and relax, and he like goes to do bath time and like every other second he's asking for something
Yeah,
to
where do you
help.
keep this? Can you go get one of these for me?
Yeah,
You know, he
and
needs
she's
a
like,
yeah.
I do this by myself all the time.
Mhm.
Like, what are you doing?
I was a stay-at-home mom when my daughter was little, and I remember like and I'm not going to tell you that my husband at the time was not a horrible husband by any means, but there were definitely times when he would come home and I would just be like, I don't want to, I want my break now. You do this. And he was just like, okay, well, what are we having for, like, I was like, you make dinner. And he would be like, well, okay, well, what am I supposed to make? Okay, well, where are the ingredients? Okay, well, where do you keep the pots and pans? Like, use your eyeballs, you
Mm-hmm.
know, like, I know
Yeah.
that, like, yeah. And then
Yeah.
she
And
like
then,
snaps at him, and I was like, get him.
yeah. And
He
then it's like
was
at, go ahead, Lindsay.
he was sitting on the toilet playing on his phone. He
Yeah.
wasn't even
Seriously.
doing bath time.
Yeah. And
Mm-mm.
then at this point, you're just like, at this point, it's just easier for me to just do it my freaking
Pretty
self.
much.
Yeah.
But again, she's not allowed to complain. She's supposed to be grateful.
And being a stay at home mom is a 24-hour job.
There's no
Like,
breaks
yeah, there's
ever.
no breaks. It's a 24-hour job. Yeah. And at one point, in the book and the movie, when the husband goes, I'd kill to stay home with our son every day. And in the movie,
Mm-hmm.
Amy Adams doing the death stare,
Mm-hmm.
like literally, like she's like, I'm about to cut your head off right now.
Mm-hmm.
You're done. You are done.
Yup.
And there is one point, like, she gets angry with him at night at one point, eventually calling herself Nightbitch. And this actually, I kind of looked into this a little bit of like a interview with the author, and the author said that this started as an inside joke with her partner, where she actually called herself that when she turned feral in the middle of the night, whenever their kid, like, she wasn't getting enough sleep at night. And that's how this nicknames are kind of similar to what she
In
the main character is calling
but
herself.
it's so like when you've done a million bedtimes, nights by yourself, and every kid goes through this I'm not gonna go to sleep phase. And sometimes it's a phase and sometimes it's a lifestyle, you
Mhm.
know? And every mom and she like lays there and like blames herself, it's my fault I did this, it's my fault I didn't sleep train him, it's my fault I snuggled with him when he was a baby and now he wants to snuggle all the time. And laying there for hours, and everybody tells you, oh, when you put the kid to bed, you'll have your own time to yourself and you can get your life back, and you like, but it doesn't always work like that. And so she's panicking because at this point she hasn't been sleeping,
Mm-hmm.
and he's just over there playing video games while she's doing night nights.
I know.
Like, I would have cut a bitch. Like, you think she's night bitch? I go, like, if I don't get my at least 7 hours a
I'm about
night,
to become the devil. All
let me
right.
tell you, and it might make me the worst mom in the world, but melatonin is our friend in this household. If my kid does not sleep, that means I'm not sleeping, and if I'm not sleeping, everyone is miserable. So we just don't go there, you know? And I was raging on her behalf through this
Yeah.
section of the book, through this section of the movie. Like, I killed husband so many times, it's not even
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah. Mother also desperately tries to get some kind of like creative release. Like she's trying to find something, like some type of
Because
like
she's lost her
identity.
identity. She's
Yes.
just mother at
Yes.
this point.
Yeah.
She's just mother.
Yeah. She even is trying to like incorporate her son because she has her son like all the time, and they like, have this little like finger painting fiasco type of situation. And
That's another really, like, common
yeah.
mom experience, is
Mhm.
that, like, trying to do an arts and crafts with your kid and then ending up with, like, painted couch,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. So as all these events are happening, like we are getting to know Mother and getting to know her life. We're seeing and experiencing her daily frustrations and her continuous internal dialogue in the book and in the movie. Like we said, like she has these internal dialogues with the audience almost. And I really like that they do that in the movie.
Mhm.
And about, being a mother and desperately wanting someone to help. She's also experiencing some unusual changes. She is beginning to notice her canines are getting very sharp. She is growing hair in strange places. I love this part in the movie when she's like, "What fresh hell awaits you today?" When she's looking in
Mhm.
the mirror. I mean, I've been there. I'm like, "What is
Right.
going on now on my face?" Oh my
Man,
god.
and let me tell you, as a woman, your
Yeah.
body changes. Like, they tell you all about puberty, but nobody warns you about, like, your body changes through your 20s and your
Mhm.
30s and your 40s. Like, it doesn't stop changing,
Nope.
and they don't warn you about that.
No, they do not.
So, legit, as she's in the mirror looking at, like, chin hairs and pimples and acne, and, like, it's just like, "Yup, yup."
Yeah. Well, they don't warn you because people still don't understand it yet.
They really don't. That's a
Doctors
whole
don't
different
understand. Yeah, that's a
women's
whole other
studies,
argument.
like, yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole other argument.
Mm-mm.
Well, her sense of smell is also insane. And then one day she's notices she's growing something similar to almost it's like a cyst, but it almost has a tail growing out of her back. And she expresses her concern to her husband. And her husband's like, "You need to see a doctor," and like kind of laughs at her. He's like, "Must be some like hormonal thing.
Mhm.
Don't make me slap you. Do not
Mhm.
make me slap you." For real. Like, that actually irritated me bad.
And I will say, like, it was around this part in the book where I'm like, "Okay, is this actually a transformation, like, shifter
Yeah,
book?
yeah,
Or
that's
is this, like, just symbolism? Is this
mhm,
about her and her body changing and not being hers anymore?"
yeah,
Because I went into this thinking this was a shifter book.
mhm,
This is going to be a little bit of horror, a little bit of, like, suspense, and but it's really not,
yeah.
and I still don't know,
Yeah, I was gonna say, you really don't know. You really have no idea.
but I still love it. I
Yeah,
That's kind of part of why I love
yeah,
it.
yeah. You really don't know if you almost think maybe it's in her head in the sense of, like, she's like you said, like, going through a
Like,
transformation
I like, maybe she's
internally.
fantasizing this, not necessarily, like,
Yeah,
hallucinating, not in a
yeah,
crazy way, but in a, like, like daydream Walter Mitty way. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? In that like fantasy kind of style.
Yeah.
You know, especially like at one point in the movie, well, in the book too, she develops more nipples along her torso, along her belly, and she mentions it. We see it in the movie for a minute, and then she mentions it to her husband in a kind of offhanded remark, but it's never brought up again. Her husband never mentions it again, or never mentions it. It doesn't, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so it's kind of like, was that a fantasy?
Yeah.
Or did that actually happen? You
Yeah.
know? And I love that it leaves us thinking about
Mhm.
that.
Because in the book, the husband is, like, almost, like, going with the flow.
Hmm.
Like, almost is just like, "This is just what's happening." That's why I feel like it's almost like I know in the book at one point she says, like, it's almost like he's bewitched or something by
Hmm.
whatever's happening with her.
I feel like, and this is why I kind of, the one part of the movie that I really was kind of disgusted with is that in the movie, he is not only not accepting of it, but she is pushing him away, away, away. Like, I don't even want to deal with him. Whereas in the book, she talks to him kind of about, like, you know, my body is changing and we're going to pretend to be dogs. And she kind of like introduce, and she knows she has to go slow about it. She can't just drop this on him, but she
Mhm.
slowly introduces him and he accepts all these changes, all these things that are happening to her, almost in a way. I don't want to say he encourages it, but he's like definitely supportive of like,
Yeah.
okay, if this is the new you, I still love you. If this is what's happening, like, then explore what's happening.
Mhm.
He's there, you know? And I
Yeah.
hate that they put that division there in the movie because I think it is 100% realistic to expect that your partner would be supportive of the things that are happening to you.
Yeah. I feel like it was like a typical conflict that they
It
threw
really
in
was very
to this
typical,
movie.
and I just I don't feel like it needed to be there.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
I like the relationship better in the book by a lot. I
Yeah.
mean, because there was still conflict. They were still not having like the best time in their relationship, but
Mhm.
they were working through it like a couple should. Whereas in the movie, they didn't even try to work through it. They were just
Yeah.
like, no, you're going through a change. I don't like this.
Yeah.
Stop. You know?
Something else that's kind of different than the in the book versus the movie is that the movie has these, like, flashbacks to her mother who seem to have dealt with something very similar to what she is dealing with now, and she's kind of slowly remembering that happening, and that her mother would, like, kind of escape into, like, the woods. And she's, like, dreaming of her mother
Mhm.
that had died, doing kind of something similar. So, as we are, like we still continue through mother and son's daily routine, especially the nights when she's, like, struggling to get him to sleep and everything, and mother hears barking and sees a bunch of dogs that have come to her, and then the next morning, she sees, like, a bunch of dead animals on their porch. So, at this point, she's, like, kind of, like, freaking out because she's, like, transitioning to something, and a lot of weird experiences are happening to her, and she does do additional research into this field guide to mystical women. And this field guide is, like, much more present in the book versus the movie. In the book, Mother is very obsessed with the author, which is Wanda White, and is trying to track this author down. In the movie, it's much more related to the librarian who originally gave her the book, Norma, who's played
Mhm.
by Jessica Harper.
I really did love that character.
Yeah. There was, like, a moment where she was, like, very this is a little bit later, but she has, like, a moment with Norma, and she in the movie, and she's, like, looking at her, and she's, like, walking away, and she's like, "I didn't realize you were" it's, like, one of those things where she's, like, talking to us as the audience
Mhm.
and narrating, and she's like, "I didn't realize you were a mother, tell me all your secrets, like, I didn't know like, this is how it was gonna be. Tell me, am I doing okay? Does it get better? And that made me really emotional.
Oh, yeah. In the book, we have a somewhat similar moment with a different
Yeah.
character,
Mhm.
and in the book, I had to stop because I was sobbing. I it just
Yeah.
I might even cry now. It was there's moments in your motherhood when you see someone else who may have been there before, you kind of recognize that that they've been through the thing in that moment that you're going through, and that they're not judging you for it. And for a second, you're just like, it's almost like you throw yourself at the mercy of this other, parent. Like, what do I do? How do I do it? But you're not really supposed to do that, so you bottle it up, and you have that, like, I wish I would have asked them more questions. I wish I would have had a moment. I wish I would have been able to talk to them more. And, like, feeling that, like you're failing, and here's somebody who knows how to potentially give you the key to not failing, and yet they're
Yeah.
just out of reach. Like, yeah, that was a moment in the movie. It was my son happened to walk into the room right about that time, and so I was just distracted enough that I didn't sob. But
Mhm. Yeah.
it hits you.
Yeah, for sure. Like, and she in that specific moment, she's, like, giving into these, like, canine instincts, and she's, like, trying to get, like, her son to eat, and they're, like, in, like, a public restaurant or something, and she just, like, starts eating, like, with her hands and then starts eating just, like, with just her mouth, and then her son starts doing it too, and they're both eating like that in this public place. And there was, like, she has, like, this sense of freedom and less exhaustion for, like, a millisecond because her son is eating, and it just, like,
It's
she's not
relief.
it's yeah,
Yeah.
because you're not, like, pushing, like, it's not exhausting to be like, "Come on, eat, like, we gotta do this." It's just like, let's just, like, pretend, play doggies, and then
Mhm.
just, like, goes in on it, and it's just, like, easier.
Yep.
It's like, what if we just do that? Because the reason
You
why
have
we're
that
not
mommy
doing that.
win. You
Yeah.
have a mommy win for a millisecond because your kid
Mhm.
is you finally found the key to getting your kid to do the thing that you've been trying to get them to do.
Yeah.
And then you look up and everyone is judging you.
Mhm.
Like, that, yeah. I have a kid with food issues, so, like, that in particular was the moment that just broke me in this book.
Yeah. And then at this point, like you said, she is, like, growing even more, like, dog features, like, she has, like, the nipples, and then there at that point, the husband he this husband in the movie, like, really irritates me bad. He's, like, trying to, like, have sex with her, and she's, like, talking about how she's on her period, and she's, like, sitting on the couch, and she's, like, trying he's like, "You wanna go?" Or, like, "You wanna" he's like, "You wanna?" She's like, "God, no." The she's like, "What the hell? God, no.
Mm,
Absolutely not." I wouldn't either, like, this guy
no.
sucks. This guy literally sucks.
They did him dirty in this movie, for
They
sure.
really did, because I mean, like, he was annoying, like you said, he was annoying in the book, but he, like
He was trying in the
yeah,
book.
he was trying
Like,
in the book.
in the movie, he's not even trying. Like,
Yeah.
she's like, "I think I'm just gonna give up on doing art." And he's like, "If that's what you want, like,
Yeah, like, "You're not going to fight for me at
you're
all?
not gonna
Fight for me to
try."
do what I love?"
Right.
But at this point in the middle of the night, she hears howling, and then we see her turn into a dog.
Mhm.
And Amy Adams doing this was, like, kind of wild. Like, she went into full character for this,
It
which
was
I thought was
awesome.
really cool. It
It
was
was
really
awesome.
cool. And honestly, this is kind of for me personally, I was kinda hoping it would get, like, a little weirder. I was
Right.
not expecting it to be, like, a pet dog. I was expecting it to be, like, a big wolf or
Like,
Yeah.
something.
werewolf style, like,
Yeah.
creature, not so much
Like
dog.
Jacob from Twi
Yeah, there it is. There it is.
I had to put a
You
Twilight
were
reference in
looking for
here.
the, like, running transformation? Yeah,
Exactly, that's what I
okay.
wanted, that's what I
Yeah.
needed.
Where the hell you been, Loca?
Yeah.
Yep.
We specifically tried to put in Twilight references just for Crystal.
Thanks, guys, thanks. I love you too.
Oh. I mean, like, okay, so in the book, at this point, so she, like, has this moment where she, like, turns into a dog, and we're all like, "Okay, is this,
Mhm,
like, really happening right now? Is she actually a dog? Is she really running around the streets as a dog? Or is she, like, dreaming? It's like, what's happening?" She comes back home, she's covered in dirt. Her
mhm.
husband, like, comes in and he's like, What happened?" She's like, "I went on a walk in the night," and she's, like, covered in dirt, she's taking a shower. Her husband loves it. Loves it. Loves
But
that
I
she's
see,
covered
and
in
the thing
dirt.
is, in the book, he doesn't necessarily love that she's covered in dirt, but he absolutely loves that she's embracing
Yeah,
herself,
yeah.
her
That's what I
womanhood, her
mean, that's
whatever
what
it
I
is.
mean, that's what I mean.
But in the movie, it looks like he's just like, "Oh, you're a dirty girl," and it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
"Ew." Like, I
yeah.
was grossed
No.
out. In the book, I was not grossed out. In the
Yeah.
movie, I was grossed out.
In the movie, he was or in the book, he was specifically, like, doing it to, like, clean her off.
Yeah. He gets in the shower to, like, help wash her hair, the dirt and the
Yeah,
twigs and the leaves and stuff out of her
yeah.
hair and, you know.
Mhm. It was like this, like I don't know how to describe it. He was very bewitched, and it felt very, like, magic vibes, and it was, like, this, like, primal
Mhm.
moment almost.
Yeah, and honestly, I kinda thought it was really cool in the book. I
Yeah,
thought it was
I
really
really liked it in the
beautiful.
book.
Like, him truly being in awe of her embracing Nightbitch, this other part of her, you know?
Mhm. Yeah.
And this is where in the book, she's no longer even referring to herself as mother, she's referring to herself as Nightbitch, even during the
Mhm.
day.
Yeah. And at this point, her husband is, like, continuously leaving for work trips and stuff like that, and mother and son go full in with taking on the mannerisms of dogs. They're, like, eating raw meat. I think this is very interesting, they did not use a dog kennel in the movie.
Right.
They use a dog kennel in the book, but she like, she's been having a lot of issues with getting her son to go to sleep,
Mhm,
but she finally gets her son to go to sleep by playing as doggies and gets her son to go to sleep in the dog kennel or in the movie in the dog bed. And she's like, "This is how," and she actually tells her husband that she's doing this. She
mhm,
tells him and she's like, "Hello, like, this is how I'm getting sleep." Like, he
yep,
likes it. He's doing it. Like, she's not, like, locking him in the dog kennel, but, like, he, like, goes in there and, like, lays down and pretends to play doggies, and he's finally going to sleep. She's getting sleep. Her son's getting sleep. And in the movie, he's, like, goes to bed in his little dog bed every night because he's playing doggies. And life starts to feel like a little like, you can tell in the movie and you could tell in the book, like, she feels like she can, like, breathe. Life starts to feel a little easier as she's giving herself into this transformation of being a dog. You can see it in Amy Adams' expressions, you can see it in the book,
mhm,
and there's almost, like, something great about being so primal and not caring about work, not caring about art, and just being at your base instincts. And she starts to feel like she's becoming almost like, I mean, she doesn't say this exactly, but you can kind of sense this in the book, in the movie, where she's like starting to feel like she's becoming a better mother because
mhm.
she's just going into these full instincts of being a dog, which is interesting. Like I mean, being a dog, I say that as in like being like her base, like feral self.
Mhm.
But then being Night Bitch is also pushing her kind of to like be a better artist or be have the opportunity to click in with a creative part of herself
It's almost
finally.
like she's seeing things from a new perspective, and that new perspective is inspiring.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's really like, she's embracing this night bitch part of her. She's becoming a better mother because of it,
Mhm.
And so now she's starting to see life. And this is right about the point in the book, too, where it goes from the boy to her son.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's starting to embrace motherhood, but she's starting to embrace the parts of it that are more feral, that are
Mhm.
more basic animal instinct. And that
Yeah.
inspires her to start doing art again.
Mhm.
It was really beautiful.
Yeah. And Amy Adams, like, in an interview, she specifically said that, like, Nightbitch becomes a manifestation of the base of mother, of her anger, her feral self, that helps her tap back into her true self, which I thought was a really great
Mhm.
way of putting it. She's, like, redefining her identity and having a new transformation. Um, yeah, so I think that's interesting. I do think it's interesting that, you have to go feral to finally be liberated.
I think she had to break free of a lot of the societal
Yeah,
expectations.
it's the system makes you have
It
to
is. It
be
really
that way.
is. And to allow herself to not be happy. Does that make sense? Because there's a
Mhm.
lot of shame involved in motherhood when you're not doing it right, when you don't feel that instant connection, when you don't love your child through all of it,
Mhm.
and like those nights when you're not sleeping, you're supposed to still be grateful. Well, I haven't slept but 4 hours in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And so it like at some point when she kind of allows herself to just motherhood is gross and hard and exhausting and dirty, and I don't have to smile through it all. And the minute she kind of embraces that part too, that anger and that just exhaustion, like there's Nightbitch. And
Yeah.
it's pretty cool.
She says one quote that really stuck with me, that she was like, "It's so wild that this being, like, mother should be like these entities and these, like, gods, because it's so wild that we fall in love with this being that literally, like, comes out of us and tries to, like, kill us."
We make this.
Yeah, we make this, it tries to kill us,
Yep. And then
and
we
then
love it.
we love it. I mean,
It's a
that's
very
insane.
powerful thing in the movie when she's talking to the other moms about the
Yeah.
power, like, are we gods?
Yeah.
Because we create life, like, because that's not quite in the book. It was so beautiful in the movie.
Mhm.
I was just like, oh, am I a god? I am a god.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
taking our
You're a
power
goddess.
back.
You're a goddess.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I will remember that scene for a long time, and I just keep thinking of that whole quote that she did, and
Hmm.
that definitely stuck with me. Yeah, she, like, meets up with the other mothers and the kids, and she's just, like, now she's just being, like, 100% honest. Like, she's just, like, she's saying how it is. But also, this never, like, comes to anything really later, but she kind of there's always, like, these 3 dogs that she's, like, running with and seeing all the
Hmm.
time, and she smells one of the other mothers, and it kinda smells like one of the other dogs.
Hmm.
But it never really, like, comes
No, it's
to, like, a
hinted at.
confirmation that they also are, like, running the streets as dogs as well.
Yeah, it's hinted at
Yeah.
that it's these other moms,
Mhm.
but it's never fully revealed.
Yeah.
She does ask the one mom at the party, the MLM party.
Hmm.
She said, "Were you at the park the other day?" And she's like, "Oh no, it's
Right.
you don't really know if she's like, "Oh no, you're
Exactly.
silly. No, I wasn't at the park," or if she was like,
Mhm.
"No, moving on."
And
Yeah.
I understand they had to cut it for time in the movie, and so they didn't put the MLM thing in there, but like I loved that that was a part of the book because they do specifically target stay-at-home moms. They do like they MLMs are predatory. They're awful, and I love that they kind of spell that out in the book in a way that is not like judgy of the moms who fall into that, because these moms really are just looking for connection a lot of the time. In fact, it's almost like, hey, we see you, it's okay, you know.
Mhm.
And I really liked that, because there again, that's another one of those that there's a lot of shame when you sign up for one of those and then you fail, because you're gonna fail. Like, I love that that was brought up in the book. I understand why they left it out of the movie, but I think it was another important piece.
Yeah, definitely. So then at this point in the movie, she does try to meet with her artist friends again, and it doesn't go well at all. Nightbitch makes an appearance at the dinner table. And when she's Nightbitch in public, well, like, I mean, she's Nightbitch 24/7 because
Right.
Nightbitch is mother. But when she was going in, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so stressed out. What is she doing?" When she was being full, like, as a dog mode, feral mode in the restaurant. And the author kind of talks about this in a couple interviews where she's just like, it just like came out when she's like writing. It's just like, this is just who Night Bitch is. Like, she doesn't have control over who she's writing.
Mhm.
And she's like, it was stressing me out too. And the part where she's like, I could crush a walnut with my vagina and turns into a dog and
I
runs
was
into
like,
the
where did that
street.
come from? But
I
okay.
know.
Like,
I
good
was
for
like,
you.
okay,
Like,
work. All
get it,
right.
girl.
And so then her routine is now includes like running in the streets. Like, we see like her routine as like her as the mom, like that we saw like the montage in the beginning. Now that montage is now and it includes like her in her dog form, like running in the streets. And then like eventually at one point we see her kill her pet cat.
Sorry, Lindsay.
Way worse in the book.
Way worse in
Way
the book.
worse
So
in the
bad in the
book.
book. So bad in the
So
book.
brutal in the book.
So bad.
Read it and I was like, Lindsay, oh my God. Not again, Lindsay.
But then she bonds with the other moms about this moment. Now, of course, she doesn't say, like, I the way she killed the cat. She
I
just, like, mentions
butchered
it
it.
like, "I killed the family cat."
Mhm.
And the other moms at first are like, but then one of them's like, "I killed the fish." And another one's like, "I accidentally let the bird fly away."
Yeah.
Like, another one of those, like, we're not supposed to talk about it, we're not supposed to admit it, but again, every mom has this experience of letting down the whole freaking family because we screwed up one time and the dog got loose and hit by a car or whatever. It's awful. It's horrible, but they get to bond over this. You know what I mean? Because
Mhm.
she feels like she can say it now because she doesn't care what society thinks. She's just going to say whatever she's feeling. And it
Yeah.
turns out that all these other moms have been holding this too, you
Yeah.
know?
And then
Yeah.
the one mom stepped on Percy, the gerbil or
Yeah.
hamster. I'm not sure if it was gerbil or
We just
hamster.
have not had a good pet season. I'm just saying.
But literally, this is the worst. This has been the absolute worst when it comes to pets. I've never read so many books.
Season 3, no pets. Like,
Well, we don't even know. They just come out of nowhere.
they sure do.
Horrible. So, like we said before, in the movie, there's a lot more conflict involved between mother and husband. She brings up how she wants to give, like we said, give up on her dream of being an artist and being she wants to go full into like being a mom, and her husband's just like, okay, I support you, instead of like fighting for her to stick with her dreams, and she kind of resents that. And then they have like a really big blowout argument where he's like, what happened to my wife? And she's like, she died in childbirth. And that part really, that hit me big time. And they just have this really big blowout, and she's just like, I just need to have time on my own to like, I want to figure myself out. She's just had this big transformation within herself, and they separate in the this is all just in the movie, because in the book he's just along for the ride. Honestly, he really is. And he, like, whenever she's out running the streets, he just like helps her, washes her off, and is like, he is along for the ride when it comes to, their child
Mhm.
playing doggy and acting like a dog.
Yeah, and she's like, "You're gonna do night nights from now on when you're home."
Yeah.
Like, because I've got other stuff to do, and he's like, "Okay, sounds fair." Like,
Yeah.
he doesn't even argue.
Yeah. But in the movie, so she kind of eventually finds inspiration in creating an art show. This is also in the book as well. But in the movie, the art show is just like a gallery of pieces of
It's just an
featuring.
installation. It's a, she fills a gallery with different pieces. In
Yeah.
the book, it's performance art.
Yeah. Yeah. In the book, it's like psychedelic theater performance where she appears as a dog killing a rabbit on a mound of bones
Mhm.
and presenting it to her son. And it's like the talk of like the town and
Mhm.
like people are like not believing what they've are seeing and things like that. And it's
But it's
honestly,
like sold out show type thing.
yeah, I had to read that whole part twice because I was like, what is going on?
Mhm.
Literally, what is going on? But in the movie, it was just like paintings that she did, like some different,
Sculpture work,
yeah,
some
some sculpture work. And basically, the husband like sees this and he's like, I can't believe I told you to give up on this. Let's get back together. And she's like, okay. I was like, boo. Like, this was
But
dumb.
so he gives a good, like, I was wrong. I
Mm
failed you.
hmm. Mm
I
hmm.
should have seen I should have supported you more. I didn't realize how much was in you were missing out on. I didn't see it and I'm sorry. That's on my bad. Now, I loved his apology.
Mm
What
hmm.
I hated was that she was like, "Okay, we're back together now."
Yeah.
Like that's when you say thank you for seeing me. And then you move on and then maybe like the next, couple of weeks you start to regrow a relationship, but you don't
Mm hmm.
just instantly start
Yeah.
making out.
Yeah. Because, like, it's going to happen again. Like, you're giving in too easily.
You need to have some long hard conversations.
Yeah.
That not just one apology. I don't know.
Yeah. I agree.
It was a good apology.
Mm hmm.
Just
Yeah, they reconcile and eventually have another child at the very end of the movie.
mhm,
And and it's a daughter, which kind of like indicating like kind of starting a cycle again
right.
because we do get these flashbacks a lot through the movie of her mother, you know, running off and kind of what we can see becoming a dog as well.
Mhm.
And, like, she has, like, this moment with her mother in her flashback saying, like, her mother's like, "I'll always come back." And I think in seeing her having a daughter is kind of, like, showing that this cycle possibly going to be happening
Well, and
again.
at one point in one of the flashbacks, she says that, like, when she's doing her art and having a flashback of her mom, she's kind of saying that, like, I wish if I could talk to you now, I would tell you to go after your joy, not just for you, but for me too. And so this is gonna like kind of break the cycle of letting her daughter, like showing her daughter that you can be a mom and follow your joy.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So, Crystal and I kinda said our final verdicts already. I said movie, Crystal said book.
Mhm.
Lindsay, what's your final verdict?
Neither. I'm just kidding.
What?
No, no, I'm kidding. I'm probably gonna go movie on this one,
Mhm.
just for the visual representation and how well Amy Adams does.
Absolutely.
Amy Adams is like you can feel her as mother. She is mother. She is Nightbitch.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
And whereas I gave the book a 5, I would give the movie like a 4.5. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's not that it's really the only thing that I didn't like about the
Yeah.
movie was the husband.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I wish the husband relationship was represented how the book was versus the movie.
Yeah.
100%. All right, so let's get to our question of the episode, which I'm so excited about. I'm so, so excited. Okay, so staying on theme of the book, I want each of us to share what breed of dog we think each of us would turn into if we suddenly transformed into dogs. All right, I want Crystal to go first because she is dying over here.
She's losing it.
And we have to explain why.
Okay. Wait, well, I'm going to start with Keri.
I'm actually
Like,
scared. I'm sweating. I'm scared.
okay, Keri, I think you would be a Staffordshire Terrier because, like, I've had one, so I've had two actually. I know them really well, and they are slightly intimidating to look at now and then. They have this look that tells you you fucked up, but also they're the biggest softies in the world. Like one of mine
Honestly, that
was
checks out.
terrified of the smoke detector. Like if the battery died and it started to beep, you'd find him hiding under the bed. If there was a thunderstorm, he'd be hiding in the closet. Someone broke into my house once while we were home. Well, they didn't break in, they just walked in. They were at the wrong address, which is a whole different story and really freaking weird. But either way, they took one look at my dog and they were like, oh, I'm out. But also, if he heard a rapper, he would come running from the other room. Like, also, if he didn't want to do something, he wasn't going to do it. Like, I'd put him on his leash to take him out for a walk, and if like we get 3 steps down the sidewalk, and he'd be like, "No, not today," and he'd just sit down. And he was nothing but muscle, so I couldn't get like, and that's how you are. Also, if he wanted something, he was gonna fricking get it. Like, he spent 4 days chewing a wooden gate to get through to the other room. He used to he opened, like, I took him to the kennel, like, when I would, be out of town or whatever, and I board him at the kennel, and he would bust out of the kennel to go lay against the other kennels to be by the dogs that he loved. Like, if he wanted something, he was gonna get it. If he didn't wanna do something, he wasn't gonna do it. And that's Keri.
Oh my god. I love it.
Lindsey, you're gonna be so mad, but I have really good reasons. I think it's
Oh
wonderful.
no.
I think you're a miniature poodle.
Oh
A
man.
poodle.
Oh man.
Because listen, poodle, first of all, miniature. You're just small, girl. Sorry. But poodles are they're one of the smartest breeds. In fact, they're the most, like, they're super intelligent. They learn words really, really fast. They can usually remember more commands than just about any other breed, but they're rarely used as police dogs because of their maintenance. They, like, quite literally have boundaries that they are unwilling to negotiate. Like, they need nap time. They need their hair maintained a certain way. You
Fuzz
better,
just jumped
like,
up on the counter, was like, "Are you talking about bringing dogs in this house?"
Fuzz is like, I don't think so. Fuzz, now if Fuzz were to turn into a dog, no, I'm kidding. I didn't go that far. But and also, like, poodles are super, super smart in that they will remember and maintain social obligations really, really well, or social relationships really well, but they're very particular about who they'll be social with. And I think that's Lindsay, super freaking smart. Super freaking smart. But also, if I don't get my nap time, I'm not hanging out with you guys. like if I don't get my downtime, like, so I'm afraid of what you guys are gonna say about me now.
Okay, Lindsay, you go.
Okay, so I'm super indecisive. So I did mixed breeds, and I did some pretty abnormal mixed breeds. At least one's
Oh.
pretty abnormal. So Keri,
Oh no.
I said you are a mix of golden retriever and Pomeranian.
What? What does that even look like?
Somebody draw it up. I'll draw it up. So I picked golden retriever because you are warm and kind-hearted and enthusiastic. And then I went with Pomeranian because
She'll bite you.
you're full of sass, you're opinionated, and you will absolutely fight someone.
True.
And Crystal, I went with German Shepherd Greyhound mix.
Oh.
What do these look like?
What?
No, never even seen this.
So German Shepherd because you're loyal, protective, and analytical. And Greyhound
Aw.
because you're elegant and fast thinking.
You think I'm elegant?
I got sassy. Okay. All right. I'll start with Crystal.
I'm scared now.
I picked a husky for Crystal.
Okay.
I said vocal. Never. I had to look these up because I don't know dog breeds. So I had to do a lot of research on this one. Vocal and never afraid to tell you her opinions.
True.
Smart and independent thing, because you know those huskies, they be telling you their opinions. All
Mhm.
right. Smart and independent thinker, because they're very independent, but also they're also very social. They're also very good in like a pack setting.
I
So
do
that's
love
what
my
I said.
pack.
Yeah. So I said that's what I said for Crystal. Lindsay, I said a Sheltie because you're quick to adapt, super smart and empathetic, and they form close bonds to those they care about, but shy towards strangers. They are best around love, structure, and peace and quiet. And they like mental exercise over physical activity. That's the one that got me.
You know,
Oh.
I think you nailed it.
There you go. There you go.
All right, that's a wrap on Nightbitch. Whether you saw it as a tale of transformation, liberation, or an intense fever dream, one thing's for sure, it leaves a mark. If this episode stirred something primal in you, share, rate, and review, or feel free to reach out to us on our social medias linked in the description. Until next time, stay wild, stay weird, and never ignore the animal within. We will see you in the next chapter of Based on a Book. Bye!
Bye.